A question we've been asking our viewers to weigh in all day is this: is Attorney General Eric Holder race baiting? Here are the results. 68% of you say yes. 32% say no. Joining me again out front, our legal analyst Sunny Hostin, conservative CNN political commentators Greg Anthony and Ben Ferguson, and a new voice to this issue for us, our political analyst and Democratic strategist Paul Begala. Paul, you're new. Let me start with you. What do you think about what Karl Rove had to say? That when your back's against the wall and you don't want to have a fight, you say, oh, if you pick a fight with me, you're a racist.
Well, as we say in Texas, I've been knowing Karl a very long time, decades now, and he's an expert on reprehensible behavior, so I'll just let him speak for himself. The person who I think has this best is not Mr. Rove. It's our president. Here's what he has said about this. He had an interview to the New Yorker back in January, and it was a terrific interview. It was really one of the best interviews President Obama's given. Here's what he said on this topic, though. He said, there's no doubt that there's some folks who just really dislike me because they don't like the idea of a black president. Now, the flip side of it is there are some folks, and maybe some black folks, and maybe some white folks, who really like me and give me the benefit of the doubt precisely because I'm a black president. And I think that's right. It's a double-edged sword. There's, in the main, obviously, most of the people who oppose him on issues and principle, and they're very good people. It's also true there's a strain, small but real, of racism in America, and to deny that is to deny reality.
And, Sonny, I mean, it's interesting, though, the point that the president made, that it goes both ways. You look at the approval rating of the president. Sure. Overall, what is it, 43, 48, somewhere in the 40s. But when you look at it among black Americans, it's 93%.
Sure.
That's if it's racism the other way, isn't that racism pro?
Well, I don't think it's racism, but I think that people certainly, we see it in the business world, that people you know, promote those that look like themselves. They're more comfortable sometimes with those that look like themselves. We see that all across the board. But I do think that his point is a valid one, in that racism does exist, okay? It exists, and that is the bottom line. And so to suggest that it doesn't exist, and to suggest that our Attorney General is, you know, reprehensible for having commented, I think, in a very measured way and pointed out the reality that it does exist is just, it's naive, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben, is that you?
To suggest that someone that disagrees with your political opinion is disagreeing with you and that they're racist is also just as extreme and unfair to those. I should be able to disagree, and anyone should be able to disagree with this president without having to be labeled, because the going's gotten tough for Eric Holder that somehow I'm a racist. Now, when I criticized Bill Clinton, I wasn't a racist. When I criticize any other Democrat, if I criticize John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, I'm not a racist. But he's throwing down the race card and making people somehow be nervous or anxious that, oh my gosh, you come after me too hard in my policies, I'm going to say that maybe you don't like me because of the color of my skin, and that's why it's not right.
So Greg, but isn't there something in between here? I mean, you don't want to hide behind race, but there are people who hide behind policy because they don't like that he's black.
Well, let me just send out a memo. We have racism in America, okay? We all know it. Everybody on this panel knows it. The issue, though, is not that it exists. The question is whether or not it permeates enough throughout society that it doesn't allow the Attorney General or the President to do their job. And I think the comments that Paul Begala made about what the President said in that article are spot on. Yeah, there is an element. We all acknowledge there's an element of our society, a fringe element, that is racist, that they don't like certain people because of their ethnicity, their gender, or their race, whatever the case may be. That exists. But what makes America great, and the reason we have an African-American president and also an African-American Attorney General, is that it's not the predominant theory of our country anymore.
Well, you're saying because it's fringe.
Absolutely.
Your emphasis is on the word fringe, as opposed to it being a more mass problem on the right political side of the ledger.
Well, our Attorney General didn't say that it was a driver. He said it was in part a driver, and that, I think, is accurate, whether or not it be a fringe, whether it or not it be part of a fringe. The bottom line is that I think everyone understands that some of the attitudes and some of the resistance that the Attorney General has received and that the President has received is in part because of racial animus. I mean, that is just
but hold on,
accurate.
here's the thing. From who? Has racism allowed them not to do their job? He's been reelected. He's been elected once, reelected another time. He's serving the maximum amount of years that a president can serve. And Eric Holder has been in this job with quite a few screw-ups and never had to worry about losing his job over some of the controversy around him. But now you see at the end of their administration, He's now pulling back in this racial issue when the people around him in Congress, in the House, and the Senate, and those that he has had to work with, he has been able to do his job without having to deal with race in this job.
Right.
And to bring it up, I think, is not playing in the big game
All right,
at the biggest stage with the United States of America.